that area. And so we're all for that, of course, too. So we have these 5 areas, and access to them is what we've been talking about. We've talked about, I don't know if, I don't have to go through all of the different scenarios, but the steel stairs, you remember that, and we talked about concrete stairs after that, and I think that this idea of what our preferences are we kind of outlined anyhow. And if at some point in the future you are ready to do some kind of improvements down there, these are anyhow kind of a point. These are our preferences, and we ask that you consider them. Some of the, I guess the issues are getting down there. That's the safe access part. Storage of equipment safely, that's another one, and of course the boundaries to the area and keeping those markings in an orderly, in some kind of order is another one. If you look at the area map that we have, it shows in scale the 5 areas. The mooring field was marked out at the time the permit was taken out in, what, 88 or 80, 85, 86? I don't remember. 79 or 80. Anyhow, those dimensions are quite adequate. The markers around the field at this, currently there are, I think, 4 or 6 of them. And the permit allows the city to put in 8. We were aware of a lot of motorboats cutting through and the possibility of some chance for hazard there, and thought that maybe one of the solutions would be to mark the ends of the field a little bit better. Since these were suggested, there's 2 additional buoys on this. An additional thought came up, and we haven't really changed it as an organization yet, but the idea was to take these 2 buoys on each end and put them on line A and line B, so that people could line up there or assure that their mooring balls are lined up with where they're supposed to be. Theoretically.
Great idea.
If there were a 3rd one, it could go on C, but that's fairly close to the outside of the outside south boundary. Anyhow, that's one idea. For the individual areas, we thought that a simple stair, something that wouldn't have to be engineered, something that could be in the same way as a modular retaining wall is built, is put down piece by piece and with hard labor. Anyhow, there's several ways of doing that, and or several kinds of things that we could see, and ranging from 2-foot wide kind of concrete pavers, precast pavers, to 3-foot wide. These are shown as limestone, cut limestone blocks, which is the same material that you see around the library and along it's St. Great Valley limestone. It's the same kind of limestone that you see that the riprap is coming from, so it's the same color. We haven't talked to the DNR or sent this to the DNR, but I would imagine that from my past talks with them, that this is right in line with what they would like to see. And we will send it to them at some point. Anyhow, shown here are 18 steps down, and they are 1 foot by 3 foot steps, and I think they 6 to 7 inches is the rise. At the lower end, the 12-foot swath you see across there that the dinghies are on is a layer of large 6-inch riprap that fills in some of the holes of the existing, and then 2.5 inch or so on top of that, but the same material pretty much. And above that, there of course are bigger rocks, and there's a lot more room for some additional fill if that were something that that we could come up with, that we could do without spending too much money. On the top is an area that has landscaping, and this is a suggestion that came up quite a long time ago. It's in the same line that the chain that anchors these dinghies is, and it's all about just kind of screening the area, and not that it really needs to be screened or anything, but at one time, I think when the brush was first cut down, about maybe 2006 or 7, I think that several of the people on the council noted that it was less than pristine. I don't know if that were the exact words, but anyhow, it was a pretty messy looking little place. A lot of junk, a lot of color. Anyhow, that is certainly an idea that makes some kind of sense. It would dress up the area a bit. Anyhow, that's one of the that's lower on the priority list, of course. So anyhow, there you have it. It's pretty straightforward, and this is what we've come up with.
Thank you very much.
Preferences.
There's a lot of, it's evident there's a lot of thought and effort has gone into it, and over all the gyrations and everything else that we've gone through, and this probably looks to be one of the best solutions that we've seen. I mean, we don't have to worry about the ice taking it out like we did with railings and metal stairs going down. I think it's something that, you should work with Tom and Public Works, and we can look at what it would take to do that. And then, I think, would we have to run it by council? Seeing that right now there's no handrails, there's no stairs, you're like a billy goat to go up and down. To now put in stairs and not have a handrail is still safer than it was, but are we going to have to in today's world? Those kinds of issues I think we need to address in that, but the overall concept of it and the way you have it laid out, I think, is a really good solution.
One of the things that was going on with the handrail, thinking about that, is really that there were some earlier proposals where we put a handrail right down the center, and we say let the water come up 8 feet or whatever it does all the time. And that can be a slight hazard as fisher boats are going past in the flood stage.
Yeah.
They have a handrail that's
Sure.
in the water. If you think about that, there's 2 concrete sets of stairs on the lakefront right now, and neither one of those have handrails. And they've been there forever. I think that.
Oh, I agree with you. I wholeheartedly. But what we've been able to do historically, what we can always get away with doing using common sense, doesn't necessarily hold true with the way we have to do it if it is perceived that we have created a hazard now, making it more desirable for somebody to go down there than it was before. all that kazaraya that goes together into that. But I think that's something that we have to make sure is it, from the city standpoint, passes that so we aren't liable there.
I remember something about the city saying, the city's attorney saying something about limiting liability by putting, if you did something like this, you actually did an improvement, that you actually have to also put a sign there saying, this is only for those certain people that have the,
If that we can do, but that's not ours to choose to do.
Right.
That's theirs in that. Has anybody else on the park board got any questions of this that they would like to ask them at this time? And how do you feel as a board with dedicating part of Tom's time and staff time to further looking at this?
I just have a question. How many moorings are there?
49, well, there's 50 possible, I think we fill 49.
Dennis, thanks for doing this. I agree with Pat. I like the concept. I agree. This is much better than what we were looking at in the past. And I appreciate your patience too, because this has been an ongoing issue, and I would really like to get something done here, because I feel your group has been more than patient. Do you have any idea what the cost might be?
matter of fact, yes.
Okay, well, that's important.
That is important.
Well, we just had this group up river give us a quote. They made a couple presentations, and a couple stops down and talked to our group. They are a landscape outfit from Osceola, and they're very helpful. And the costs range from, if you were to, in both cases, a set of 18 steps. If you do them in concrete, they're about $160 a step.
Okay.
And that would be about, that would be almost $3,000 per area. If you do them in stone, 3 foot wide instead of 2 feet, then they end up costing about $270 a step. So on one side you have 18 steps, and the 2 foot wide precast concrete, and that with a limestone apron going up. This limestone apron actually, the 12-foot limestone apron costs about $2,700 per
area, mooring area?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you do the steps and the apron, or that area, that would cost about $27,865 for the concrete steps, and something like $45,500 for the stone steps.
Per area, or
For the whole thing.
Gross, for all of them.
Yeah. Okay, so, going back, per area, it would be something like, I just want to make sure I get this right, $55.73 for the concrete stone steps, and $7,500 for the stone, the 3 foot wide.
That's material costs, though. That's installed?
Installed, yeah. That's delivered and installed. So if you put them all together into 5 areas, then you get about,
That's
you get
good.
27.8 on one side and
That's nice.
45.5 on the other side. And if you add landscape, they quoted 2,200 plus tax. And I think that probably is a little bit on, they were talking about one row of shrubs and grass is 66 feet long, and that's how long the area is, or each area is. They're talking about 15 shrubs. I think that we show more like 10 or so. But say you took that if you took 2/3 of that 2,200, took it down to 1,500 or 1,600, that would probably make a little more sense. And I don't know if you even have any desire to go in that direction with the landscaping, but that's what it would cost. So they're talking 15 shrubs, and we have showed on here 10. So anyhow, it would be about 1,500, 1,600, something like that, if you did that.
Well, it looks like we have consensus that it is something we want to devote staff to working on and bringing forward, and it'd be real nice
Yeah.
to right here after the first of the year to get our arms around this and get it set up so that come spring, it can be one of the first projects is after the water goes down for it to be attacked and see if it can get done. Well, maybe they want to work in hip boots and snorkels, I don't know, but, you know.
The last 2 years,
It's been 7 years, what's the difference here? Come on.
That's true. But thank you very much for the effort you've put in and the time you've put in, and it's a nice solution.
Now,
really is.
High water mark is also something to consider when you're looking at whether you do a partial or a full apron.
Mhm.
Because we have so much high water in the spring, we need back to walking on the dangerous rocks.
You know,
Yeah.
with concrete, you can put something in it so that it has a higher, friction, more friction. With limestone, you can't do that. So which one's worse when it's wet?
Actually, the limestone, it depends on how you cut it.
Okay.
How you finish it, but it's just as fine as the concrete for slipping. We don't usually have a problem with slipping on those stones. The problem is tripping over them or one of them breaking loose.
Yeah.
They're always
Mhm.
in some
Mhm.
they're always in some place, progression from rolling from the top to the bottom into the river. And I've heard a couple people that had some accidents this summer, and I'm curious every summer. I don't hear much in detail, but no, I've never had that problem. But it is slippery is not the issue with the limestone, and you finish it, you do the right thing with finishes.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Dennis, would there be any issues with erosion on those bottom steps? I mean, with that plate you guys were talking about, or the base? I mean, down on the very bottom, will there be any erosion in this plan, or?
Oh, the 2-inch material
Yeah,
that the dinghies are laying on?
Well, this,
I'm just thinking of the bottom steps. I mean, how do we, because we've had issues with, things we've done down there.
the bottom is up about, I want to say, it's about a third of the way up.
All right,
As those boats are laying there, they're kind of at I don't know what that slope would be, but
okay,
that bottom area is up, 4 feet or so, the bottom steps.
okay,
Above the water line.
okay,
Above the normal water line.
Okay.
It's just half the line.
got it.
Spring, it's transfers
Mhm.
across that.
So like in high water, maybe the bottom 2 steps might be.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm wondering
17
about.
steps will be under the water.
How many?
Those steps should be put in so that so the water can go over them,
Yeah, and that's my concern, is if we would have any erosion in back of it. That's,
The way they lay them, what they do is, I'm not sure.
is it just the weight is so
They
heavy?
put one on top of the other, it'll sit partly on top of they're 18 inches wide and they sit, or 18 inches or 2 feet. But the next one up sits on top of the one below it. And what they do is they plan on taking out riprap underneath and building a solid base. And so I think that's in their plan for installation.
Have they done anything similar to this in other spots?
I don't know them.
Okay.
Conversations that they're saying that they've done this type of work before along water lines, because one of the questions we had was, will that rock work its way down.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about river rock, which is smooth, which is
Yeah,
sliding on down,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So we talked about the various sizes and the limestone locks into place.
okay.
It was wasn't it 4 inch? That was 4 inch limestone used because it locks well and you can still walk on it. Because one of the dangerous things to talk about is when you lose your footing on what's there now,
Yeah.
where are you gonna put your foot when you try to catch yourself?
Yeah, it
Either
is,
it's going into a hole between two
yeah.
rocks or you're landing on something that's gonna slide up underneath it. So at least this gives you footing that's consistent and
Right,
you can actually land on something and catch yourself.
it is the same as class 5 without the fines in it, basically. It's big chunks of angular stuff. Actually, I have a project over at Saranda, which is up on Third and Vine, and we did those kind of steps going up the base. I know there's not a river down there, but they're laid pretty solidly. They do the preparation at the base preparation with
Oh, go up to the mic. If
wall.
the television guy just brought to our attention that if we're going to carry on these conversations, we need to carry them on. But I think we need to move on.
I think we're done.
At this point, I think we're clear as a group that we want city
like
staff to
this.
spend the time to do it. Tom?
Just a few comments. Good plan. I think this looks good and, but I have a couple concerns. Currently, because of the flood last summer, you talk about the wave action and the force of that. There's some very large riprap on the shoreline or the dike road, and a lot of that has washed away, and even to the fact that it has washed away and eroded underneath the roadway. Currently, we're trying to get emergency flood damage from the state of Wisconsin, and we're working with them to, acquire funds for the repair of the dike on both sides along. The road itself is not eligible, but the riprap portion of it is eligible for disaster funds. But with the process, when you do anything below the normal high water mark, it gets into very interesting conversations with the Corps of Engineers, the Fish and Fish Service, or Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Scenic Way, and the DNR. So there's some major permits that we're actually trying to work with the DNR and the Corps of Engineers and the fisheries to get just the repairs on the dike road. If we're below that normal high water mark, there's a mussel, not zebra mussels, but the clams and exotic things that you have to do, and that gets very expensive. So a lot of this is going to be below that normal high water level. So I think if the park board would consider making a recommendation that we could bring it to finance and to the city council, if they would have the city engineer review this and possibly work with, put it in with the permit process that we're going through now, and just to see how this would fit into that process, because the proposed project here is definitely going to need permitting. It's a lot of money. We're gonna have to have some engineering. We're gonna have to have some elevations, which we're working on currently. So it seems to me that it may be a good idea for the park board to make a recommendation to finance and the common council to maybe incorporate this with the permitting process that we're going through right now for the repairs of the dike road.
To be expedient, then, would you like that to come out of this meeting now, to have that?
I think it would be a
Recommendation.
good idea if the
Okay.
park board
That's fine.
feels that this is a good plan.
I do.
That we could, I think it'd be a good idea and to incorporate with the current permit that we're trying to acquire.
Yeah.
Then
So lack
Care
of,
to make a motion?
lack of a better term, Tom, you're saying we can kill two birds with one stone here? Is that kind of what you're saying, basically?
Yeah, if this is a
Piggyback
plan
on,
that the
yeah.
park board, you know,
Yeah.
looks like they would like to see move forward.
Again, a little history on this for some of the newer members. This has been ongoing, and I know Pat and I conveyed our thoughts, but this really looks good, so I will make a motion. I definitely think we want to go ahead and incorporate with the permitting process.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, the chair will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Then at that, if we bring this to
Mhm.
council, then would you care to present this to finance?
Sure.
Or council, whatever they choose?
And, you know,
If you're going to
Yep.
speak, go to the mic, please. Dennis?
if you could have the financial information in a handout so that we can view it, that'd be better than just telling us.
I agree, and we'll do that. I have just one thing, one misunderstanding maybe. My understanding is that the normal high water mark is where the water is at the summer high water. That's and that's way below this. It's about 75.5. Is the language different with that, or is that
675 is the normal water.
75.5?
Is normal water level.
Normal, and then, but
Normal.
normal, I think the Dyke Road is 691 or 692 is, and I think the normal or the high water mark is like 681, 682 or something like that, I think, so.
686.
So about 5 or 6 feet up.
Yeah, don't quote me on the
Okay.
exact, I don't, but it's something like that, so.
Yeah,
And-
689 is the deck on the bridge.
689.
689.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that, like modular retaining walls, this solution does not require any engineering. It's just hard labor and thought. I mean, experience helps. So I mean, really, it's not one of the reasons that we ditched the whole idea of doing a monolithic or talking about monolithic concrete stairs, and you have a couple sets of them down there.
Yeah.
They're beautiful, they last forever. It's the engineering that goes into it is amazing. It's like they would be putting in you know how it goes, they would be putting in a bridge of some sort down there.
But when this process goes out, we're gonna have specifications and get quotes and bids.
Yeah, it'll have to
There's
follow
gonna
the
have to
normal.
have some kind of a specifications of how this is supposed to be built and designed and constructed.
This is a recommendation, but this is going to have to go through the process. And when it comes out of the grinder at the other end, it's going to have all the appropriate things with it to go through the process,
Sure.
regardless of what we think or may want to do. It's just the world we live in today.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Will.
You're welcome.
So you'll go through that process? And
We can
take it
make
in.
an issue sheet and bring it up, and we'll let Dennis know
Yeah.
when it's on the agenda for the finance and council.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Night.
Next item on the agenda is the bouncies. Tom, you want to?
That's just kind of what the issue sheet states, is that over the past several years, requests have been coming in that these people have reservations at parks for functions, you know, weddings or birthday parties, and they have these inflatable play areas. So we have contacted our insurance company, and the recommendation from them is that the city does not allow the rental of bouncy houses on city property.
There's the answer.
And here's their response. The carrier, EMC, excuse me, and your broker, this is from Bill Saylor, would strongly recommend you do not allow the use of rental bounce houses on city property. Should the city decide to allow The city should take steps to require that the individual show proof of insurance and signed waivers. So I guess we just wanted to bring it before the park board to see if they had any specific ideas or recommendations.
So why in the last sentence it talks about not applying to special events? Why wouldn't this apply to special
The
events?
special events have totally different permitting process, that they put deposits and they have to provide certificate of insurance for the whole event. And so part of the event, that
Okay.
includes like the rides.
So if the
and
carnival
bouncy,
people
you know.
have a bouncy hut,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're
they're set
insured.
up.
Right.
Yeah.
It's their insurance that's covering it,
Okay.
not the city's. It would be that kind of a setting.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other business to come before the park board, either new or old, or items for the,
Do you want to make a
Do
recommendation?
you want to do
though?
anything about,
oh, do you want a recommendation for it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'd move that they not be allowed.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. So, any other items for the agenda? Tom, I've had one, a neighbor to Williams Park has contacted me around wanting to remove some buckthorn up there. How do we feel about neighbors next to our parks wanting to take out buckthorn and help us in those ways, or take that out?
I think it'd be a good idea if they first contacted, one of the public works workers or myself.
Mhm.
I'd like to visit the site and make sure that they're not, I know exactly what they're cutting down.
Mhm.
Generally, at times, we do allow people to cut a dead tree down if they sign a waiver.
Mhm.
I think
So-
that, I think I got the same, I got the letter,
Yeah.
Okay.
and
We got it
I
too.
think you got copied on it, and she said she already contacted you.
Yeah. It's in your basket.
Oh,
You probably haven't got it.
So,
Mhm.
can I report back to her that she
Sure.
should contact you again,
Mhm.
and, but is there a policy?
No, it's just pretty much the waiver that we've just, it would probably just be the waiver, like we did for,
I mean, is there a policy about the city controlling buckthorn on city property? I think that's what she was asking
Oh,
about.
I think there is.
Is that your understanding too, Pat?
I don't think, I thought it was more just to that situation more than,
Maybe I'm talking
parks
about a
in
different
general.
thing.
we have allowed several times, the Rotary Club
Mhm.
has, came up on
Prospect.
Saturdays,
Prospect,
and
yeah.
they've done a lot of buckthorn removal for us, and we've worked with them. They've come up with a crew, and they cut the buckthorn down, and they pile it in random piles, and then we run it through our chipper and get rid of that. So it's actually a benefit to the city to
Mhm.
remove some of that buckthorn, and
Mhm.
There is no policy on it.
No.
Okay. Good, that's all I wanted.
so I'd be glad to work with her on it.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll, make sure to have her contact.
motion to adjourn?
I have a question
Good.
about at the last meeting, we talked about the pickleball, or we had the presentation on the
Mhm.
pickleball. Are
Yeah.
we going to look at that in 2015, or has there been any more information about that?
Well, we increased the requests for capital funds to kind of cover what our estimated cost of it is, but he hasn't had time to get, I think those two, Ron and Tom, going to be the pickleball.
Mhm.
Oh, I think we should go ahead with it.
I think it's a great idea, and we do have some money,
Kurt was gonna
requested in capital funds.
Help with that as well.
Mhm.
And I think that's what we recommended as we did our one tour of Anderson Park, to include that as one of our improvements.
So it's basically contingent on funding.
Mhm.
We get the funding, it'll happen, right?
Well, hopefully.
Maybe we can get donations too.
Sure.
Well, we could start. Let's get an idea.
Well, we'll
it's-
see see if we can get
Oh, I know where
our
you're
capital
going.
requests go through, and
The plan is to try and do something in next year.
Great. Thank you.
And when the planning to resurface or anything up there, we would redo the tennis court from the way it's, I think when Kurt measured it, we could get 3 pickleball courts on our current court. And so when we're finishing it, we would have it lined and set up to do that. and use it in that capacity rather than a tennis court.
Mhm.
You feel it, it'd probably be used more? I mean,
It
it
sure
seems
seemed like
pretty
it.
popular. I
Yeah.
see people doing it
Yeah.
up at the YMCA, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it seems like it's pretty growing.
Mhm.
It's a real
And there are
popular
none in town. There's
Right, I
no
think
courts
he
for it
measured,
like
didn't
that.
he measure the basketball too, if you flipped them around?
Mm-hmm.
You get 4 on the basketball court and 3 on the tennis court. Whatever they decide.
So
How
we'll
much,
check in.
how much utilization is basketball court? And follow-up, is that where some of our problems were coming in?
Well, when we were up there were kids playing basketball when we were up
Yeah.
there measuring
Okay.
it. I mean,
We just got new nets and
They-
it's
it
pretty
is getting
popular.
used
Yeah.
Okay.
by kids. I don't think the tennis court is getting used
No,
No.
at all. And when we were up there, Tom noted a bunch of trimming and brush removal, shrub removal that will help open up the sight lines, taking away places to hide, cars going by and the like. Should help as well.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.